Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another edition of the JBDC Virtual Biz Zone. My name is Sansia Campbell, and I'm the Partnerships and Events Coordinator here at the Jamaica Business Development Corporation. Now, this morning we have a very interesting topic, a very interesting organization that is joining us to share with us about what it is that they do and how it is that as entrepreneurs you can benefit from government contracts. Now, I'm sure that like many Jamaicans, you may be a little bit confused as to what the office of the Public Procurement Commission, what it is that they do. And when I started doing some research on them, just maybe about 2 weeks ago, I was totally confused. And so I said, I met James King some weeks ago, or maybe it was last year. And I had said to her that I'd love to, work with you just to sensitize our entrepreneurs on what it is that your organization does. And so the opportunity arose, and here we are. So just to give you a little bit about the Public Procurement Commission, they were established in 2019 and they are responsible for overseeing public procurement processes. So the PPC's role is to ensure that public resources are used responsibly and that public procurement is transparent and accountable. Now, you may be saying to yourself, then how, as an entrepreneur, I fit into this? So the fact is that the government is the biggest spender in the country. They have the most contracts, they give out the most work, all of that. However you term it, that is what the government does. But in order for you to qualify to access these contracts, you must know how it is to work, how it is that you're going to work with the government. So our topic this morning is get set for doing business with the government. And as I said before, we are joined by the Public Procurement Commission, and we have a series of presenters. They are going to be doing some short but sweet presentations. It's going to be interactive, it's going to be informative. So feel free as usual to ask your questions, whether in the chat or by raising your hand, because believe me, we are going to learn together today. So we have a total of 4 presenters this morning. We have Miss Erica James King, and she is the Public Relations and Public Education Officer. Then we have Captain Richard Campbell. He's the Senior Director for the Supplier Registration Branch. We have Mr. Darren Black. He's the Technical Support Officer, also for the Suppliers Registration Branch. And then we have Mr. Andre Bennett, Chief Public Procurement Policy Officer. And they all, of course, are from the Public Procurement Commission. So let me get out of the way. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome all of these persons and to thank them for joining us this morning. And I'm going to start with Ms. James King, who is going to give you a brief introduction to the organization, and then they will jump in from there. Please remember, you're always interactive, and we're depending on you to do so this morning. Over to you, Erica.
Thank you so much, Sansil. And thanks for all your mentees who have joined us online and for the PPC and OPPP team. I'm going to share my screen. I'll be brief, just setting things in context about who we are at the PPC. So it's our pleasure from the PPC OPPP to be joining you to let you know exactly how we are your partners in your own businesses and in your own lifestyle. And I know for whether you are small, micro, medium-sized, or large businesses, then there is a place in your business for public procurement. And procurement is a buzzword nowadays. Both public and private sector has been speaking about that. And so what is a public procurement? It is the acquisition of goods, works, and services by government, or I could say governmental organizations, same as public sector entities, using taxpayers' money. And this money is expected to be used in a transparent, economical, and effective manner. So the Public Procurement Commission is a watchdog, or the entity that safeguards the spending of taxpayers' money, ensuring that the government and governmental organizations gets value for money in spending. And how do we fit into your own scheme of things? We are ensuring that, one, we are catering to you in terms of registration as a supplier. So whatever you want to supply to a governmental entity, you could be a carpenter, want to do work for a school, or you have supplies that you want to sell to the hospitals, or you're a caterer and you want to supply lunches and so on to any governmental entity, then that means that you qualify. Even if you're into agriculture, you also qualify. In fact, the government is estimated to spend at least 30% of gross domestic product on procurement activities. So this is a source of income generation for both medium, micro, small, and large businesses. So this is your opportunity. And therefore, if at this time, if you are interested in supplying any goods, works, or service to governmental entities over 1.5 or at and above 1.5 million Jamaican dollars, you should be registered with the Public Procurement Commission. That's the PPC. If you, in terms of works, most goods and services, yes, it's 1.5. If it's works, it's 2 million and above, then you should be registered with the PPC. Now, you might not know when you will have these opportunities, so it is best to register with us so that you won't affect your bidding when you want to participate in a public procurement opportunity. So the PPC was established in 2019, April 1, 2019, under the Public Procurement Act 2015. And we are what you would say the National Contracts Commission was our precursor or predecessor. So we do similar things and more to that entity that was ahead of us. Some of our functions include, and they're listed on our screen, and they are in law. Some of the things that we're expected to do: obtain value for money in public procurement, foster transparency in the public procurement process, encourage participation by enabling the involvement of small, medium-sized enterprises in public procurement. So you are at the heart of what we do. Other things that we do that is outlined by law, and they're listed on the screen. So I will not go over them, but just to give you a brief overview of what we do. Then some of the activities in which we have been engaged is to get you or stakeholders to understand what it is we do and how we can help you to register. The PPC is also the home of not just the supplier registration system, but the contractor and consultant performance evaluation program. And that was launched in 2023, in that we are spearheading in conjunction with the Office of the Public Procurement Policy, OPPP. We have spearheaded the streamlining of criteria in which public procurements can be judged. And we compile the database, and this is posted on our DVBI system here can be accessed by the ministries, departments, and agencies of government, as well as contractors and consultants. So brief overview. So if you want to register with us, the supplier registration system, of course, gives you 24-hour access. You can go onto the GoJEP platform, that's the government electronic portal that you use in order to register. And that's gojep.gov.jm. And anywhere, anytime, any place, any hour of the day or night, you can register. And Mr. Campbell will go more into that. I just want to say we also have programs or core services, not just for private sector, but for public sector as well, because we also review procurement submissions that is 30 million and over from our ministries, departments, and agencies of government and recommend whether they should go ahead with some of these. But just to say that procurement is not only done by the PPC or the OPPP, but individual ministries, departments, and agencies have procurement committees. And those committees review their own contracts and contractual arrangements that are under $30 million. Above that, they come to the PPC for submissions and review. And beyond 60 million, we review, but we recommend to cabinet how they should respond, well, how cabinet can respond to these contractual arrangements. So this is a brief overview, just showing you some of the things that we have done in the past. But the fact is we are your private sector partner, your public sector partner, once it comes to public procurement matters. And we hope that we will be your first port of call when you intend to tap into income generation opportunities offered through public procurement. Back to you now, Sansiek. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Erica. There was one question in the chat though. Somebody wanted to know what is the DVBI or DVPI, that was it? Just give us that, just
Right.
give us an explanation for that acronym.
Okay, so this is an online portal. It stands for Database Business Visualization Platform. So it's database.
What is the first? Okay, go ahead, sorry.
V, visualization, business, B, business, and the I, intelligence. So it's DVBI platform. And it is it's a portal that the ministries, departments, and agencies can log on to, and it's coordinated by the PPC. They put information in about contracts that are taking place. So they give interim updates on contracts and how contractors and consultants are performing. And also at the end of it, the ministry, department, and agency also rate contractors, and that information is put on the contractors and consultants on that portal. And contractors and consultants can view that portal. And if they have any disagreement with how they are rated, there is room for doing that too. So this is pretty new. It was launched in 2023, but became operational within 6 months. So it's pretty new and still a work in progress, but it is ensuring that contractors and consultants are performing at their best self, as well as to ensure that projects are monitored and that there is value for money and transparency in how projects are carried out. So there's a criteria of how you judge projects, procurements, as well as how contractors and consultants are judged. And this generally chips in if the project is $10 million and over, being executed by a public sector entity. I hope I have shed some light on what the DVBI is.
Yes, all right. Thank you so much, Erica. All right, we're gonna move on now to Captain Richard Campbell,
Yes,
the
thank
Senior
you. I'm
Director
here,
of
so I
Supplies
will
by
share my
Home.
screen now.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to us here at PPC. Thank you, Ms. Campbell, for allowing us to have this discussion with some potential applicants, suppliers, if you will. And the brief presentation from the suppliers registration branch in the PPC will cover a few items. So they are listed here. So first, to begin with, the supplier registration branch. It was previously the supplier registration and licensing branch, but the name was changed to really reflect what we do in one of 3 technical branches in the Public Procurement Commission. The supplier registration branch is that branch or department, if you will, that deals with the registration of suppliers who wish to do business with the government of Jamaica. And those suppliers, there are 3 registers. So we have the goods and general services, other than consulting services, because there's no regime for the registration of consultants at this time. So consultants such as accountants, actuaries, doctors, lawyers, quantity surveyors, engineers, architects, land surveyors, so on and so forth. Those, yes, they can participate in procurement opportunities, but they don't need a PPC registration as part of the eligibility criteria. But from you selling a pin to an anchor to any MDA, ministry, department, or agency of the government of Jamaica, you need to be registered. You could be here in Jamaica, you can be anywhere in the world, at the North Pole, in the in the USA, Canada, Europe, Russia, wherever you are. If you wish to do business with the government of Jamaica, you need to have a registration, and especially if the value is above $1.5 million for goods and general services, and for works, which is generally construction, $2 million. And of course, we use as our tool for registration, the supplier registration system. So I started out by saying we have 3 registers. So we have the goods and general services, we have the works grades 1 to 4, and we have the works grade 5. So the grade 5, these are artisans. So these are individuals who would have completed an artisan course, whether it's from their high school or secondary school then, or a trade school, from Hart NSTA Trust, City and Guilds, or you have a higher national diploma from the UK, or anywhere in the world. But you can register as an artisan. And we have 12 categories for those. So masonry, carpentry, drywall installation, painting, welding, so on and so forth. So as long as you meet those minimum requirements as an artisan, you can present your information to the PPC, and of course we guide you through registration on the SRS platform. So my content today, overview of the supplier registration branch, the PPC's legislative framework, supplier registration system, and the PPC application process. We have 8 steps, synopsis of the registration process, and of course some useful data from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. All right, so the Public Procurement Commission, as Ms. James King indicated, started has its genesis in the 2015 Act, and of course Section 9, the Supply Registration Branch. Of course, we have our mandate from Section 11 of the Public Procurement Act 2015, and of course, as I've indicated, to register classified persons, firms, or entities as suppliers, and approved persons, firm, or entities as approved and unregistered suppliers. So the PPC made the following regulations. And of course, what we do in the supplier registration branches is governed by the Public Procurement Registration and Classification Suppliers Regulations 2019, which was, of course, enacted 2nd of September 2019. So these regulation, of course, indicates that, you know, any person, firm, who desire to do business with the government of Jamaica, of course, they can apply, right? And we provide the guidance where that is concerned. So the supplier registration system is a web-based database management system, and of course it was officially launched on the 3rd of May 2021, and we have been using it from ever since for the registration of suppliers, right? So of course it's a bespoke software, meaning it was made specifically for us at the PPC, and of course we use it, and you'll have a demonstration from my colleague, Mr. Black, shortly after this, right? And of course, we are also looking at future enhancement because, you know, artificial intelligence is something that is, you know, up and about in the world now. We want to get to a stage where if there's less interaction for, you know, simple registration or simple interaction with the SRS, you can do it on your own. You go on the system and the system will guide you through whatever function or action that you like to take on the system. And especially for the MSMEs, we want to make it as seamless as possible. Right. All right. So the 3 registers I've indicated before. We have the suppliers of goods and general services, and we have about 128 of these categories. 57 of them are goods, and of course general services. And if I have the time, I can, you know, give a list of what those look like for those who are unfamiliar with the registration system. Of course, the supplier of works grades 1 to 4. We have 34 categories, and it ranges from building, construction, and civil engineering to asphaltic concrete, you know, overlay, and of course, construction of bridges and so on and so forth. And of course, I mentioned the grade 5, who are the artisans, right? So it may be a little fuzzy on your side, but I'll just quickly say what the 8 steps are. So initially, we ask that everyone be, you know, if you're registering as a person, meaning an artisan or a sole trader, a partnership, a limited liability company, you need to establish your footprint, so to speak, on the GoJet platform. So the first 4 steps rather, is for you to establish yourself or your business on the GoJet platform by logging on to www.gojep.gov.jm, and you follow the instructions and you enter, you know, relevant information regarding your company. Of course, that is managed by the Office of the Public Procurement Policy, and I'm hopeful that Mr. Bennett will say something on that when he's presenting. But the other steps, these outline some guidance as to how you get on to the SRS, because the SRS is a module that sits on the GoJep system. So the same username and password that you will receive after signing up on the GoJep platform, you'll use it to enter the GoJep platform, and then of course you can apply for your PPC. And I indicated to you earlier that Mr. Black will give some guidance when we do a live presentation of how you get onto it. Right. So let's move to the next slide. All right. So I have a list here, and this is a current system. We are embarking on some reforms, so hopefully it will make it a little simpler. I know this list, we have 11 items here. Persons are daunted by it, but I mean, we find reference for all of these in the regulations, and we are hopeful that regulation will also be amended or removed so that, you know, some of these minimum requirements can be reduced basically. But for registration, of course, if you're registering as a trading as a limited liability company or partnership, you need to have, and also as a as you say, for the artisan, you'll see that you require tax compliance certificate. You need company, and this is related to suppliers of goods and general services, right? We'll go to that for works 1 to 4 and 5. So the TCC is required, the company status letter if it's a limited liability company. If it's a partnership, we need a certificate of registration. If it's a trading as, a certificate of registration. We need a declaration form 1 and a form 2. And these basically are voluntary declaration about the directors of the company. So all directors will complete a declaration form 1, and the company secretary or any of the directors can complete a declaration form 2, right? So GCT status. So we need your GCT certificate if you're a registered taxpayer, or if you're a tax person, you need to provide that document. We also ask you if you are exempt from paying tax, you provide a tax compliance. Sorry, a GCT status letter. Right, so letters and certificates of approval from relevant regulatory bodies. So for example, if you're a security firm, you need to have your PSRA. That's the form 3 and the form 5. If you do pest control, your company need to be registered to handle, you know, pesticide. And of course, the person who will be applying it, we need an applicator license. If you are into petroleum, you need to go to, of course, the Ministry of the relevant ministry to get a license to handle petroleum products, like haulage and storage. If you do catering, or you have a restaurant, you need to have food handlers permit, and you need to have a certificate from the health department, so on and so forth. So that's what this means by letter of certificates from the relevant regulatory body. All right, if you are currently working for the government of Jamaica, or you are on a government of Jamaica entity board, then you need a no conflict of interest letter. And this no conflict of interest letter is to be prepared. We have a standard letter. It is to be prepared by the permanent secretary's office, and of course he or she, the permanent secretary, need to sign, or in this case, or because our parent ministry, the Ministry of Finance, the financial secretary, and of course, if it's a cabinet, the OPM, after the prime minister, is the cabinet secretary. Right, certificate of incorporation, I indicated that before. Reference letter. So for new business, if you are unable to provide reference from persons you have done business with, we'll ask you to provide character references, and this is usually from a JP, Justice of the Peace, or a Minister of Religion. Right, resumes for the director, because this gives some knowledge of gives us some information regarding the owners of the business. And if you have a technical person, we need a resume of that technical person also to you know, get some appreciation of the competence for that specific category. And of course, for all new business, we'll have to do a physical business verification, where we'll come to the site where you're conducting business, and we have a brief interview with the owner, or the person who the owner will give permission to our authorized persons to provide us with whatever information, and sign our report on conclusion of that mini interview, basically. All right. So for the works, grades 1 to 4, it's a bit more. I mean, same 11 items we have identified and we found reference in the regulation. And I said before, this will change because we are in the process of doing some reforms, right? So of course, a tax compliance certificate, the company status letter, the company status letter indicate to us who are the owners of the business, and of course, the company secretary. Similar to the supply of goods and general services. Declaration forms 1 and 2, the same applies here. We need this one requires ID of the staff, because you have 3 levels of staff for for the works 1 to 4. We have professional staff, the technical staff, and the supervisory staff. So we would like their resumes, and the resume must show affiliation to the company, and also their academic qualifications, right? And we can get some more into that. So I'll just move on to the next items. All right, so as for the goods and service, of course, and by the way, if any person can have both, or registered entity can have both a goods and general services registration or certificate, in addition to our works grades 1 to 4 certificate, right? So you can apply for both registrations. Right, so certificate of incorporation, I've indicated that before, but in this, for the works, we need audited financial statement for the last 3 years, and in the absence of that, we'll because some companies would have registered some from time to time, and they probably decide not to trade for a number of years. We ask for their nil returns, right? And if you are a new business, you would not have any financial statements, so we ask you to obtain a business line of credit from a financial institution. Right, the form, a sample of that will be provided to whomever wish to take this route, and of course we provide guidance. And you can see at the top there we have, if you're a new registration renewal, you're changing your grade or the classification, additional category. So the physical business verification is required also because you're a new entity. So we'll come to the place of business and we will speak with the owner, whoever the owner will indicate will wish to speak with us, right? So the artisan, they basically need to provide a TCC, a photo ID, there's their certificate from Hart NSTA Trust, or City and Guilds, as I've indicated, or the diploma, high national diploma, or the diploma they would have received from their technical secondary or high school, right? And they go on the platform and they register their names, and of course upload the requested information. All right, so I'll just move to the performance of the supply registration branch with respect to registering new application, doing renewal, additional category, change of grade or classification. So for the for financial year 2023-2024, we would have processed about 880 applications. So these are persons who are new, of course, doing renewal, applying for additional categories, and are changing their grade, seeking an upgrade to the one they have. That's what the works 1 to 4. Regrettably, we are still trying to have all our grade 5 who were previously under the NCC system, because that entity doesn't exist anymore. Everything was transferred to the PPC. So we're in the process of trying to get back those grade 5 suppliers back onto the system, and we hope to do so, hopefully before the end of first quarter 2025-2026. So the processing time as indicated here, right? So an application would have come into us, the diamond, the gold diamond would be will represent the length of time it remains in the system, because we have to be, of course, interacting with the supplier to get the minimum requirements based on those previous tables I've indicated. So, but as soon as we receive the minimum requirement, we are able to process the applications, which is the blue, the blue dot below, within a week and a half, right? And then if you see it on receiving the minimum requirements of, for say, quarter 2, 23-24, of course, we're receiving a better time. So I'm just saying to everyone who are interested in registering with the PPC, if you provide the minimum items that we have indicated on the table before, then of course the application will be processed within under 2 weeks, right? And we have seen that going right through, well, right throughout the year, and it continues into 2024, 2025 financial year, which I'll go to next. But I just want to indicate to persons who are interested right now, I would love that all who are not yet registered with the PPC will come on board. We are here and ready to assist you with the process and to make it as trouble-free and smooth as possible. Right. So I will jump to financial year, the current financial year, which ends the 31st of March, but I've made a projection up to March 11. And if you notice, yes, the diamond at the top, starting in Q1, shows that, of course, yes, on average, the files we receive in Q1, they would have spent just less than 6 weeks in the organization. But if and when we receive the minimum requirement, the application is processed basically in a week. So we want to get to the stage that, you know, when the applications are provided or are uploaded to the SRS platform, that they have the minimum 100%, and in some case, if they have 99.99, excuse me, we'll process the application and get it through as quickly as possible to allow you to go and participate in your procurement opportunities. Right. So I just want to indicate that now. But so for this financial year, up to March 11, we would have processed over 885 applications of renewal, new additional categories, and an upgrade or change of grade or classification. That's a term in the regulation. So we are hopeful that we will exceed last year's figure by about 25%, and we all things being equal, we are on track to accomplish that. So I'm encouraging everyone who wish to apply to do so, you know, at the end of this session. So I just pull out some figures from the last 3 financial years. Well, the last 2 financial years and then this current one. So the financial year 2022-2023 would have processed 988 applications. And just bear this in mind, we have a maximum of 1,500 registered applicants. We have not exceeded that figure. We want to exceed that figure because we need more persons to register to take advantage of the procurement opportunities by the MDAs. Right. So in 2023, 2024, there was a dip. Still trying to figure out why there was a dip in the registration process for that financial year. But we are hoping to exceed what we did in financial year 2022-2023, and we hope that will continue in the, you know, into the foreseeable future. So the company's office, if you will, have over 250,000 registered entities, and if you do the maths, less than 0.001% basically, based on the numbers that we are doing right here. So I'm encouraging everyone who, you know, who have logged on to this session. I'm encouraging you to got the other slides. When I go to them, we'll encourage you. Right. So we are hoping to have a 25% for 24-25 financial year over you know, 23-24. And all things being equal, as I've indicated, we will achieve it. Right. So I got some some figures. Last year, May, really, I haven't received the new figures, but this is a synopsis of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, right? The spend data for the public procurement, right? And looking at the number, the government basically spend for, since 2020, 707 billion Jamaican dollars. And if I could go back to the $707 billion was utilized by, you know, for argument's sake, 900 suppliers. 900 suppliers would have, you know, used up, you know, 700, and the numbers are greater based on the budget that was read for 25, 20, yes. Budget was a trillion, if I'm not mistaken. So you can just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and I know for the small the MSMEs that there'll be some special provision. I can't say yet because I haven't received the full information on that, but I'm just encouraging you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you have not yet, you know, sign up or apply for your PPC, please apply, because there's a lot of, you know, opportunities out there for you to earn some of this, because I'm sure this number is almost a trillion right now instead of 707 billion, right? So the opportunities are out there, and I'm encouraging you to sign up the PPC so you can participate in these procurements. All right, so just some more information from the Ministry of Finance based on the data. They have a total number of contracts, and then of course these are figures as of May 2024, right? So the numbers are even greater for 2025, right? And going into the new financial year, right? All right, so the next step for us, the recent legislative amendment, the regulations regarding the validity of the PPC certificate. So the PPC certificates approved, that will be approved after April 1st. It will move from 18 months to, of course, the 36 months. So the certificates, the new PPC certificates in the new financial year that, you know, that are approved as of the 1st of April will last for 3 years, right? And of course, we are doing a comprehensive registration reform right now, and we hope that on completion of that, you know, over the next so we want to amend the regulation or have a new regulations for registration in particular. We want to streamline or simplify the PPC registration process. And of course, we're going to adopt the common procurement vocabulary, which is in my view, I think it's far better than the current PPC categories that we have. And of course, we'll make it, you know, even better for everyone involved. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, right, the PPC aims to increase the number of suppliers over the next 5 years, at least 25% of all eligible entities of the, you know, with the Companies Office or on the Companies of Jamaica, Company Office of Jamaica's register, right? This will be achieved through targeted stakeholder engagement similar to this event, and we hope that, you know, the PPC hope that is currently, because we're currently reviewing the registration process, that of course the reform will make it far better and easier for, you know, for everyone, especially the MSMEs, to participate as you know, as best as possible. Yeah, I would love to see 100% MSMEs participate in the procurement process that we have. All right, and this will be we want to achieve this within 3 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've included some number. You can take a screenshot here. These are some numbers that will be very, you know, helpful for you. So you can contact the supply registration branch, of course, using our helpline, and this helpline, when you communicate with the person on this line, it will assist you with any registration issues you may have. If that person is unable to resolve it, then of course it's escalated to me, and I'll do my best to resolve the issue, you know, so you can carry on with, you know, participating in whatever procurement that you'd like to, right? So you can also send email to srs@ppc.gov.jm, and of course we'll answer within within 24 hours. And of course, these are some contact for the GoJeb help desk. So please feel free to communicate with them as best as you can. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I will take your questions and I'll answer them as best as possible. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Captain Campbell. Very informative presentation. While Darren gets ready to share just a short demonstration, there are a couple of questions in the chat. One of them, if I can remember, being, is there a cost associated to registering with the PPC for MSMEs?
Good question. For goods and general services, no cost. For works grades 1 to 4, you have, depending on your grade, there's a cost. So I will say for there are 4 grades as I've indicated. So grades 1 to 4. So at grade 4, which is a startup, or at the smallest level, contracts it can participate in procurements 12 between $4 to $12 million. There's a cost of $5,000 for the registration, irrespective of the number of categories you have. And with the new, with the amendment that will make the duration of the certificate or the registration last for 3 years, then it will double. So it will be $10,000. So as of the 1st of April, grade 4 will be $10,000 and the registration period will be 3 years. For grade 3, it's $60,000 and the persons can do contract up to 24 million, yes. And of course, 3 years duration for that certificate. For grade 1 and 2, it will be 120,000 as of April 1st. And the registration period, of course, is 3 years. But as it is now, everything is half up to the 31st of March. So if you have submitted your application for registration now, you as a grade 4 contractor, the duration for the certificate is 18 months and you pay only $5,000. For grade 3, it's 30,000. For grade 1 and 2, it's 60,000. For goods and services, no fees, no charge. But for the artisans, currently it's $1,000. But with the change in the duration of this the certificate, it will be $2,000.
All right, thank you so much. Corinne,
Right.
I'm unmuting you and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much, Captain Campbell. I have
You're
a
welcome.
request. The slide before the conclusion, I wanted
Yes.
to get a copy of it, but you went by so quickly I missed it.
No,
Is
I
it
can
possible
go
for-
back to it. I can go back to it.
Yes,
Can I,
I
Ms.
would
Campbell?
appreciate the one before the conclusion.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In the meantime, while the captain goes back to
Is-
that slide,
Is it
he
this
there?
one?
Oh, she went back mute. She said the one before the conclusion.
One before the conclusion, which is next step.
Yes, that's the one. So you can go ahead and screenshot that one. In the meantime, Darren, get ready. And Erica is in the chat and she is putting in some very important information in terms of email assistance, contact, telephone number, and things like that. What I would want to ascertain from you, Captain Campbell, can I share this presentation with the persons who are in the session this morning?
I should think so. Yes, I believe so. Correct, Miss James King?
Yes, you may.
Okay. No, yes.
All right, great.
Yes.
So I
So
will
I can stop
send it
sharing
to
now?
you. Yes, please.
Okay,
And
great. All
Darren,
right, great.
it's over to you. Just a reminder to everyone, Darren is the technical support officer for the supplier registration branch, and he is going to do a short demonstration, I suspect, of how the platform works. So that's over to you, Darren.
Hi, good morning again, everyone. Hope we're all still here and looking to get some information about how to navigate what we call the Suppliers Registration System, the SRS. Um, as the captain would have mentioned before, so all procurement related activities are done through the GoJup website. But our system, SRS, it's a module that sits on the website. So I will just quickly walk you guys how to navigate that platform, how to submit an application to the PPC, and provide us with general information as we require, right? So I'll get right into it. So if we're, and we're also seeing my screen, just want to confirm that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So the first thing that we're gonna be looking at is the homepage for the Gojo platform. Well, I say platform, but it's really a website, but we get the gist. All right, so when you go onto the platform for the first time, you're going to be seeing a few options here in the, let me annotate it. Yeah, up here, top left for login. Now, if you're new to the platform for the first time, you would want to create an account, which we're gonna erase that. All right, good. So register as a supplier. There's a little notation here, register as a supplier. Right there. So we would go and we would click it. So the first step, let me zoom in a bit. It's just asking general information about the entity, whether you're a sole trader, a partnership, a limited liability company, or other type of entity. This is just where you enter information about the entity, the name of the business. You create a little abbreviation. Let me get rid of this. Okay, great. Yeah, so you create a little abbreviation. Now, I get a lot of questions about this, but it's not, you know, it's nothing major. It's just an abbreviation, a shortening of your business name. So let us say, for example, that, you know, I had a business name, ABC Company Limited. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is just ABC CL, short for ABC Company Limited. So it's not a big deal, right? You enter the organization type, whether it's a limited liability or not, so on and so forth, the country of registration, um, the registration number, whether it has Jamaican registration or not, the TRN, TCC, and then address the country that it's registered in. I guess the reason why, well, not guess, the reason why we're asking for this type of information is because we not only, remember that we not only cater to local entities, we also cater to entities who are abroad and want to come to Jamaica to provide our government MDAs with goods, works, or services, right? So once you fill out step one, which is just again basic information, very basic information about the entity or the company, then you will be led eventually to another screen where you're asked to fill out your user credentials, so your username, your password, your security questions, and all of that. So that's very simple. And it probably would take you about 5 minutes if you really sat and did it, you know, in one go. But I'm going from the perspective of already having set up one such account like that. Let me just go here and show you what it looks like when you are logged in. So great. So logging into the platform for the first time, you're going to be brought to, you know, you have access to a bit more features this time. But what we're focusing on, this is what we refer to as, let me even change the color so we can make it out. This little block right here is what we refer to as the supplier registration system. This is a module that sits on the GoJup website. So as we can see the broad header here, PPC registration, and everything under this is what we call the, oh, I see someone commenting, please zoom the screen, my bad. Oh, that's a bit better.
Better, I was
All right,
just
great.
about to ask you to increase the size of the screen. Go
Yeah, man,
ahead.
not a problem, not a problem. Awesome. So, yeah, so as I was saying, PPC registration, this is what we call the SRS. right here. All right, so once you're logged in for the first time, once you created the account and everything, the very first thing that we want you to do is to click on what we call the PPC profile. This is a bit more to the entity, right? So initially, it's just asking you basic information about, the place of registration, the TRN number for the business, and simple contact information, email address, contact number, and the address. That's it. So we're going to be seeing some of that information reflected on the general section, because if you look at the top here, let me get this up on my screen. All right, so we're seeing some tabs here. I'm going to highlight these at the top. The 5 sections of the PPC profile: general, operational, financial, projects, and personnel. Those are the 5 sections of the PPC profile. Now, the thing I must mention about the PPC profile is SRS wasn't always, or our application process wasn't always online. It used to be back in the NCC days, a paper-based process. So what we've done, we've digitized all of those paper-based forms. So the information that we're asking here, we've always, more or less, always asked for it. It's just that it's very much easier now to go in and just log in, enter information at your own convenience whenever you want, whenever you can, right? So this is still critical information for us going forward in terms of processing an application. Good. So this is the general. I mentioned before, we're going to be seeing some extracts here from the original screen where we're asked to set up our account. So the name of the business, type of business, the registration number, the address and the contact number, and so on. So if we go down, we're going to be seeing a bit more information. So whether the business has insurance, references, experience in PPC categories, and also, branch locations and so on. Now, what I will say, a little insight, if you do ever get to this stage, everything here, I will highlight it. I will highlight it. All right, so everything below this red line, it's not mandatory. It's good to provide information, but at the same time, it's not necessarily critical information that will go against you if you don't give it to us. It's not that critical of a factor in terms of us assessing your application to us. And so if you don't have anything that is referenced here, for example, you don't have insurance for your business, that's completely fine. You don't have to do it, right? But the more information, the better. What is important here, we're gonna look and see where we have some asterisks. I can't help but see the comments when they pop up. That question, does the site indicate? Yes, that's what I'm getting to. So you're seeing that some fields here have a red asterisk. The red asterisk indicates that they're mandatory. So that's what will help you to walk through as you go along. So these ones with asterisks, they have to be done. They're mandatory. All right, so that's general, this general section. We're going to the operational section. So the only mandatory fields here, well, you're not seeing it on my screen. You'll see when you're setting up. The only mandatory fields here are part-time employees and full-time employees. Once you enter those numbers and you save, you're good to go. Again, these subsections below, if you don't have them, it's fine. We're not gonna, chastise if we're not having them. So if you have it, you go ahead and enter it. If you don't, you can just leave it alone. That's completely fine. But you just need to ensure that you up here, let me annotate instead. So up here, that is the critical component for this section. As long as you complete that, we're good to go. We can move on. And now we're going to go to section 3. Look at that. We're already halfway through the profile. Now, this is where it gets a bit, it's not tricky, but as we can see on the screen, a quick observation will show us that we're not seeing any asterisks at all. But there's a reason for that. The rule is that you have to complete all sections of the PPC profile. But there's no asterisk under this section because everything has to be done. So you have to go in and complete annual financial. You have to go in and complete financial institution, because these are areas that we expect everyone to have. Whether you're a sole trader, partnership, limited liability, there must be some financial institution that you have a relationship with. You have to be getting paid somehow. I mean, even if you get paid, in cash and outside of digital means, you must have somewhere where you drop off that money too. So this is information that is important, very important. Additionally, if you're a works supplier or you're applying to be registered as a work supplier, financial statements will play a part in your assessment, or not necessarily financial statements, but financial information. Because if you're a new company, for example, there's an alternative. We refer to it as a business line of credit. So you won't necessarily have a financial statement, right? But there's still financial information that is critical to your assessment as a prospective supplier. So this is the third section, the financial section. As I said, no asterisk here because you have to go in, you have to complete it. And we expect you to have the information, right? Now, if it's a situation where, for example, the company was literally just established, doesn't mean that you can't apply to the PPC, but you won't have certain information, like you wouldn't have completed a financial period, so you don't necessarily have any numbers to go off of. So if we can look in this line item here, we're going to be seeing where I would have entered zeros. Now, let me zoom in because I think you guys can see. All right, so the first row, let me just go back over this and draw this over. Yeah, so for the purposes of how the platform operates, it's expecting that, as I said, it's expecting that all areas are completed. So if you haven't, if you don't have access to any financial information like that, you literally just open the business, you haven't done any trading as yet, you just go ahead and enter zeros. That's completely fine. The thing about the PPC profile is that you can always go in and make adjustments as you go by. So let us say that now you're applying as a newly incorporated company, you won't have the information. However, when you come back to us a year and a half later, 2 years later, there will be updated information available. So we can always go ahead and add or edit what is already on the profile, right? So again, the expectation is that we complete the financial section in its entirety so we can move forward. So now we're going to move on to the, good, awesome. So now we move on to the project section. Now, the word project, it's a bit easier for work suppliers because that's kind of straightforward. Any contract that a work supplier gets, the term project is clearly usable, right? But a project for a goods and services supplier now, that's where it kind of gets tricky, but we always try to provide guidance as best as possible. So a project for a goods and services supplier is any instance of that supplier providing goods and or services to a client. For example, let us say that I'm in the industry of selling textbooks that just came out of the air. Any one interaction or any one instance of me fulfilling an order to a client is considered a project. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. So let's not try to get worked up about it. So that's what a project is, right? Any instance where you provide goods and services to a client. And that's it. You can enter as many as you like, but for goods, the minimum requirement is just at least one. And for works, it gets a bit more stringent in that the assessment for works will depend. The amount of projects that you need to provide us with will determine on what you're applying for in terms of the grade level and the values involved, right? So after we complete the project, again, I have to stress this again, you're not going to be seeing any asterisks here because the section itself is expected to be completed. There's no going around it. You have to complete it. But then we're already 4 out of 5. So that brings us to the last one. This one is pretty simple, which is straightforward. Simple as it sounds. Personnel. Who are the key personnel in the business? If you're a limited liability company, who are the directors? If you're a sole trader, who is the sole proprietor. And if you're a partnership, who are the partners? You're simply entering the information, the detail for each of these key individuals. So again, pretty straightforward, has to be done. So let's do it. I just saw a quick question pop up. If you're new and haven't gotten any project, can it be left blank? Good question. So similarly to the financial section where we would have entered zeros here, because for the example that I gave, you would have just been registered, just incorporated. You haven't done any works at all. You enter zeros. The same thing here for projects. You would enter where it asks for text, you can simply put not applicable or none. And where it asks for values, you can simply put 0. So yes, the same principle would guide this section, right? And again, so the personal section, the last section of the PPC profile, we just enter the details for all key persons related to that business or company. Another question, what if you have done projects as an individual but not under the incorporated business? All right, so that's a very good question. The information that is being entered in the PPC profile has to be related to that one entity, the entity that is seeking registration with us. Now, if you're coming from the perspective of supplier of works, there are dispensations in place to allow for the inclusion of projects done on, for example, let us say they had a sole trader at first, and you move that sole trader to a limited liability. For whatever reason, you decided to make that decision, right? There are avenues that you can make a request, and I have to be clear about that. It's simply a request that you're making to use the project executed under the sole trader to be used in the assessment for the limited liability. At the same time, it's not a given. I have to stress that. It's not as if we have to do it. We have to allow it, or it's just you're making a request that based on the situation, I have done projects under the sole trader and I wish to use them under the limited, in the assessment for the limited liability company. No, straightforward. Again, it's just a request. Doesn't have to be granted, but in most cases, as I said, we try to help our suppliers as best as possible, right? So I hope that answers that question. But for the most part, when you're completing the PPC profile, the information that you're entering in each section has to relate to the entity that is seeking registration, the registered entity. So if it's a limited liability, all the information that you're entering is related to that one limited liability company. All right? All right, good. So that brings us to the end of the PPC profile. We've completed all the 5 sections. So the next one now, next thing for you to do, as I said, if you're applying to us for the first time, remember we just walked through a situation. We just created the account to use the Goja platform. We just created or populated our PPC profile. The next step is to go to what we call just apply for a new registration. So we would click on that. And this is where we enter. We're going to choose what we're applying for. My example, based on the test profile that I'm using here, this is a trucking company. I will show you what that looks like. So you select the class. Class is asking whether or not the entity is registered in Jamaica or overseas, so national or international. Most people here, I would expect to click national, right? Because you're a Jamaican business, Jamaican company. So we go into goods and services using my example of a trucking company. So they would fall under goods and services. And we go here to choose our categories. Let me zoom in a bit just to ensure that we're all seeing that. Good. So I'm going to do a test category of, so we have a bunch of transportation and haulage categories, right? But let us say that I am in the business of garbage collection, popular one. So I select garbage collection. Select the category. Now we're seeing a new field here. Don't worry, it's nothing to be concerned about. It's just saying specialization details. So for example, you're in the garbage collection industry and you transport special waste, hazardous waste, or you do like medical disposals or whatever. If there's a situation like that, you can enter it here, but for the most part, A simple full stop will do. And you heard correctly, a full stop, just a simple dot, that's it. And then you click generate application report and save. All right, so this is red. This is red, but I don't want anyone to be frightened or concerned about it. It's just something to grab your attention and to pay attention to. So this is where we've now reached this is the penultimate step before you can submit an application towards the PPC, documentation. Now, the captain would have gone over a list of the documents earlier, so I won't necessarily go back through them, but this is where you have the opportunity to upload those documents, right? So, point of example, we're looking at one line item here. So for goods and services, again, you need GCT evidence. So either a GCT certificate of registration or a GCT status letter. So you would simply click where it says here at the end of the bullet point, which is underlined. Let me zoom in a bit. It's a link. So you click on this little link here, and a little window pops up, and then you're able to attach the file and then save. Obviously, I don't necessarily have a file to upload now, so I'm not going to click on save, all right? But that is pretty much the penultimate step in submitting an application to us. And once you've cleared this prompt for documents, then you will be able to go ahead and click on the generate button again, and then the application will be sent off. But this time, don't worry, you'll get a green box to say that it was submitted to us. Now, that is pretty much a quick overview of utilizing the SRS, as we call it, the Supplier Registration System, and how to submit an application to the PPC. Now, if any of you, I expect to see a few names here, hopefully soon, submitting applications to us. We would have provided a contact number earlier, but I'll give it again. If you're navigating the system and you have any sort of issues, concerns, or queries in general, you can reach out to our dedicated helpline at 876-807-3154, and we will be able to give you or help you, navigate whatever issue that you're facing and provide any necessary information. There's also an email address that we monitor. SRS, it will be back on the screen soon, I guess. SRS at, okay, Gary, Erica is right there. Follow me up. That is it. Yes, so SRS at ppc.gov.jm. So we look forward to any requests for information, any requests for help, or any sort of help that you need to navigate the system. So that is pretty much a quick overview on how to submit an application to the PPC and what is expected of us as suppliers. And yeah, if there are any further questions, Sansia, do I look in the chat, or will you, let me know what's going on?
All right, thank you very much, Darren. Let's move quickly to Andre Bennett as we wrap up the presentation. He's the Chief Public Procurement Policy Officer at the PPC. So it's over to you, Andre.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, I'd like to start sharing my screen. Thank you. All right, good morning again, everyone, and thanks for your attention so far. Just to make one quick correction, so I am the Chief Public Procurement Policy Officer at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. So I'm in charge of whole of government public procurement, and the Public Procurement Commission, of course, is one of the entities or agencies under the MOF, which has particular responsibilities for administering the public procurement system. So this morning, my discussion with you will not be as long and boring as Richard's and Darren's, right? I'm going to go short and sweet and to the point. I'm kidding. Those were really good presentations. And I trust that you would be able to
And that was paid.
utilize.
That was paid for
That
sure.
was a
That was
whole
paid.
forest. It was a whole forest. No, they were great. They were great presentations. And I trust that everyone would be able to utilize the information in order to earn government contracts. Because, as Richard quite rightly pointed out in his presentation, really and truly, we are spending this big chunk of money, 30 to 40% of gross domestic product, amounting to somewhere close to 5 billion United States dollars every single year. And we're spending it with just a few persons in the country. And so I encourage you to take a part of the pie, because it is as much yours to have as the other guys or the other girls. All right. So this morning I'm going to talk quickly about, one part of the law on government contracts. And then I want to talk about the decision-making process that goes into the award of contracts so that you can know what to do in order to earn contracts. So the part of my presentation is called Tips for Earning Government Contracts. The first question is, well, what on earth are these government contracts anyway, and who cares? Well, you should care because, as I said, government contracts are the means by which the government engages in the acquisition of goods, works, and services for purposes or uses that are incidental to the functioning of government. And that's the definition of public procurement. And I just mentioned that there's a lot of money engaged and involved in this enterprise, up to 5 billion US dollars a year. And we're spending on things like nuclear power research and nuclear equipment to simple things like toners for printers, even though you might find that toners and printer paper is not quite as simple as some people may think. And so we do these acquisitions through these things that we've become accustomed to call contracts. And a contract is therefore a relationship, a consensual relationship formed by promise and or conduct that binds the parties. And if you don't pay attention to the obligations in your contract, then you will have some kind of remedy against you. So in other words, you need to ensure that you have paid attention to the things that are contained in the contract and that you would deliver those obligations under the contract. Now, a contract, a government contract or a public procurement contract is formed when the parties to that contract are a government entity, so the government of Jamaica acting through a procuring entity, which might be a ministry, a department, an agency of government, and so on. So on the one hand, MDA or procuring entity, and on the other hand, an economic operator, a businessman such as yourself or yourselves or your companies, right? So a public procurement contract is formed between those two parties. And it's really important to understand what happens in the formation of this contract. Well, first of all, there are several elements that go into the formation of the contract. There has to be an offer, which is accepted. There must be consideration. There must be the intention to create legal relations. The capacity of the parties to join and form the contract must not be in question. And there must be a clear subject matter of the contract that is not illegal. And so there are a number of things that form this government contract that you're looking to earn, that you can get lots of money from. But let's talk a little bit about the offer and acceptance part, because that's really what the public procurement process is about. It's about that interplay between you, the supplier, making an offer, us, the procuring entity, accepting the offer, and that is really what the procurement process is all about. All right, the procurement process, that the processes that go into the formation of the contract really are about this offer and the acceptance part of this formation of contract. So I want to leave with you just a few quick tips. And I say to you that earning a government contract is easy. There are 3 basic steps that you need. 1, identify an opportunity. That's easy. Go to the relevant places, which I'm about to tell you. 2, obtain and examine the documents. That's the solicitation documents. And those will set out all of the information that you will need to consider in order to earn the contract. And then thirdly, make them an offer they can't refuse. So let's take each of those and do some more work on them. So first of all, In Jamaica, it's really easy to identify opportunities. You can look in the Tuesday Observer, you can look in the Saturday Gleaner. There are pages and pages of government contract opportunities. And from time to time, depending on how well you market your business, you may even be contacted directly by the procuring entity for offers in a process we call the restricted procedure. And so, generally speaking, though, when government would need to buy something, it would place an advertisement in these media. But increasingly, most public procurement notices are placed on the Government of Jamaica's electronic procurement website, or otherwise called GoJep. And if you're not signed up on GoJep, listen, man, you're missing half your life. You're losing your part of the $5 billion pie. Why should I be rich and drive a GLE or a GLS and you not be rich and drive a GLS? No, you need to go and log on to the GoJep website so that you can identify opportunities that you can respond to. And when you go onto the website, you will see that there is a range of things that the government will buy from time to time. You can't earn a government contract if you don't first know where the contract opportunities are. Just like how you can't win the lotto if you don't have a ticket. That's not a plug for you to go and buy lotto now. Go and invest in fulfilling obligations under government contracts. That's way more sure than the lottery. Okay, so the next step, so after you've identified the opportunity, the next step is for you to obtain and examine the solicitation documents. Now, these solicitation documents, otherwise called contract documents, are on the GoJep system for each opportunity that you identify. And they contain 5 main parts. There is at the beginning some general and specific instructions around how the opportunity will work, and those things establish fairness. It says the government is going to treat you fairly as long as you do your part. All right? Then there's a part that discusses the subject matter of the acquisition. So if it were to construct a building, the specifications would be there as well as bills. Then there would be a section that deals with the evaluation of the offers. The process by which the procuring entity will evaluate your offers to determine if they should accept your offer, right? Then there would be a draft contract and there would be some forms. And these forms are likely forms that you'd be required to complete, forms that you'd be required to fill in order to give the procuring entity the kind of information that they have asked for. Now, I want to talk quickly about this third one, the criteria for evaluation of offers, because it sometimes confuses people. And in truth, it confuses me sometimes. And even worse, sometimes it confuses procuring entities. But let's break them down for you. There are really 5 basic ones, maybe 6. We have eligibility. And these eligibility criteria are all about assessing reputational risk to the government of Jamaica. So government says, okay, we do not award contracts to anyone that does not pay taxes. And I think that's sensible. If you want to earn a government contract, you have to be compliant with taxes. And you're not eligible to earn a contract if you are not registered with the Public Procurement Commission. That's what Mr. Campbell and Mr. Darren Black just walked you through, right? And these are important checks because the questions that are asked there in the registration process, give us a sense of your workforce. Give us an idea of your financials. Are you a bad guy? Do you traffic in drugs and humans? Right? We want to know those things before we allow you to be able to earn a contract. So that's eligibility. And then there are these criteria called qualification criteria. And these questions are asked by the procuring entity for them to sort of assess your historical antecedents. It's looking at your past attributes. Right? Some of them are necessary by law, like Richard mentioned. If you're going to do pest control, you need to have a mandatory applicator's license. Or if you're going to be in catering business, you need to have a food handler's permit. But there are other qualifications, like maybe a record of successful implementation of similar works. Or some people say, well, how many years experience do you have doing this particular thing? And all of these qualification criteria are really to give the procuring entity a sense of whether or not you will be able to handle the implementation risks that arise in the what? In the contract. Because remember I said that if you do not follow the obligations and meet the obligations set out in the contract, then some kind of remedy is going to be pursued against you. And then there's another set of criteria now which help the procuring entity to determine of all the offers before it, well, which one is the best and which one should be awarded the contract. And there are two options in Jamaica law. Either the contract is awarded to the bidder that has submitted the lowest price, or this thing called the most advantageous offer or most advantageous bid. In the case where it's the lowest price, it's simple. Having met all the tests, once your bid is the lowest price, you have to get the contract award. And if a procuring entity dares try something different, just come to me, call Uncle Andre and say, they're messing with me, go and fix them. And I will go and fix them. If it is the most advantageous offer, then you will have seen the procuring entity set out the things that they will consider for you to know what would be the most advantageous offer. So maybe they will score you extra for after sales service or a special extended warranty, or maybe they're buying something that has some kind of energy consumption consideration. They may say, well, if your thing is more energy efficient than the others, you'll get some points. All right. And so that would go into a whole weighting between price and non-price factors to help you to know which one is the most advantageous offer. But beware that you can't get there if you don't pay attention to the specifications. Now, this is central to the contract. These are the things that are going to help the procuring entity to know that you're going to give it the thing that it has asked for, right? This is the basis on which they will determine whether the value that you promise will be realized. And these specifications can be of various types. Sometimes the procuring entity will design out everything to the T. So they want to buy this glue, this Pritt stick. They will say it is red, cylindrical, well, the bottom part black, it must can turn, and inside it will have an adhesive, and it must have a certain label, right? But there are times when they will say, we want something that we can use to glue up two pieces of paper, right? And they'll give you no kind of specification. Sometimes there's a mixture of both, right? So they say, it must can glue up two pieces of paper, and always saying the outside must be red. They don't give you any other specification. So those are combination specs. And you have to understand those things so that you can put those things in your offer and you can demonstrate that the thing that you will offer, the solution that you will offer, will meet their requirements. All right. Now, I want you to be aware of the fact that there are some things implied by law, some considerations such as mandatory disqualification set out in Regulation 19 and mandatory exclusion set out in Section 42 of the Act. And I'm not going to bother talk about those things because everybody here bright, you can read. So find the Act and you can see those things that will automatically exclude you and ban you from earning a contract. Now, I want you to also know that apart from the criteria that will be used to evaluate your offer that I just discussed, there are some other things from time to time that you may be asked to submit, like a power of attorney to show your commitment to be bound by the offer and by the contract, right? Or if that's in the case where the person signing the bid is not a director nor authorized to sign the bid, then you will be required to send a power of attorney. Sometimes you have to complete the forms exactly like how the procuring entity tells you. No, we get into arguments all the time because some procuring entities are too strict. They're very, very strict. And so they may say to you, you must complete the form in a black ink. And you complete it in blue ink. And then can read everything on it, but them say, no, because you put it in black ink, we're not going to because you put in blue ink, we're not going to accept it. When that happens, just call uncle and I will set them straight. But really and truly, a lot of that strictness came out of an era where there was great concern about discretion afforded to persons in the award of these contracts. So you know what? To avoid arguments, just follow the instructions as best as you can. All right. So apart from the documents to fulfill the criteria for evaluation, there are other documents that you may need to submit. You have to pay attention to those. Don't shoot yourself in the foot by missing or skipping out on the documents that you're asked to submit, which brings me to my final point. You're not going to make them an offer that they can't refuse. First of all, you need to offer the best possible price. You need to offer the best possible price. We are not in the business of robbing you. The government understands that the economy works. When you calculate the risk in supplying the particular thing, you make a profit. And we love when you get rich, because here at the Ministry of Finance, we have a division called tax policy. The more money you make, the happier we are. A joke. We don't want to rob you. We don't want to rob you, and you should not rob yourself either. Offer to us the fair market value for your goods and services. If there is a benefit that you can pass on to us that comes out of a competitive pressure, then of course we're happy to accept it. But oftentimes when you lowball, what ends up happening is what? Implementation risks. And then you're not able to meet the obligations in the contract. We don't want that, right? Then I just said, make sure you submit only and all of the documents that are requested. Now, sometimes I know that it's difficult to follow which ones are requested and which ones are required. We're trying to work on something to improve that. But you can read through the thing carefully. And if you need assistance, you can come to us here at the Ministry of Finance. We can assist you to understand the things that the procuring entity may require in order to consider your bid for contract award. Make sure you submit those things. Now, try to refrain from submitting additional things, because all that does is cause extended times in evaluation and increases the time it takes to award the contract. No matter way, just submit the thing that you need to submit. Thank you very much. And ensure that the form of bid or the form of tender is appropriately signed and completed. Complete it fully and sign it. And if a procuring entity tell you if you sign it at the bottom of the page, and if them tell you if you sign it in a one reading pen using your left hand, follow them, because you see that offer form is one of the most critical forms in all of the documents. Without an offer form, you don't stand a chance. And then the easiest one of all, submit the offer on time. Now look here, I've mentioned that what we do with procurement these days is we do everything on GoJep. GoJep will lock you out. It's not one of those times when you used to run up the stairs. You send your poor bearer for riding back through half a tree traffic for reach the procuring entity, and then for run up 10 flight of stairs to reach the lobby for drop the bid in the bid box. And when him reaches 1 minute past 12 o'clock, and then him have to stay there and argue with the receptionist, and the receptionist said, no, sir, we can't accept it. And then him leave and him feel bad. No, GoJep don't even give you the opportunity to argue. Once you reach the cutoff time, that's it. You cannot even access the bid submission page. And as a matter of fact, because of the traffic that results from many people accessing the bid submission page at one particular time, there are sometimes glitches. So don't delay. Just submit the bid on time. Submit the offer on time. You cannot see, nobody can see the offer until opening day, because once the offer is submitted, it is encrypted. And only time it can be de-encrypted is when is on the deadline for the submission of bids and bid opening. I've said a lot. You're gonna have these slides. I just want you to remember three things. Of course, if you want to earn one of these fancy bad boys, these contracts, these government contracts, and to take your part of the 5 billion United States dollars, well, three simple things. Look for the opportunity. Gleaner, Observer, GoJep. 2, make sure you understand what you're being asked to submit, and make sure you can meet the requirements and submit an offer they cannot refuse. And then you will earn a government contract, and on that contract you will perform well, so that your details in the DVBI will be exceptional and you will be known as an exceptional contractor. I take my leave there unless you have questions for me. Thank you for listening to me.
All right, that was a mouthful, and that was very exciting. Thank you very much, Mr. Bennett. someone is asking you to go back one slide, please. So I suspect the slide that is right. So that should be the slide that they're talking about. Make them an offer they can't refuse. This has been an informative, interesting, and my mind has been opened so much. She's asking for the one with the summary. So go to the next slide, Andre. I hope that's the one now. Alexander, can you give me a thumbs up if that's the one? Okay, great, it is. Right, so thank you very much, everyone, for participating in the session this morning. Miss Erica James King, then you had Mr. Richard Campbell, then you had Mr. Darren Black, and finally, Mr. Andre Bennett. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and so I am going to let you know that the session was recorded and it will be available on the JBDC's YouTube channel at JBDC Jamaica. So once it drops, we're just gonna ask you to watch it again, because I know that there may have been some points of information that you would have missed, right? It's been a very interesting presentation, and the last one was very energetic. It may have been a lot for you to grab in the last couple of moments, but as I said before, the recording will be available on YouTube by the end of this week. I also want to let you know that if you desire to grow your business, JBDC is the place for you. We provide guidance and mentoring for your startup or your business that is at the growth stage. You can always visit us at www.jbdc.net. We are also on all social media platforms, and our handle is at JBDC Jamaica. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sansia Campbell, and we look forward to interacting with you next time around. Thank you very much, Team PPC, for joining us today. And I am sure that you will be getting a lot of phone calls and some emails, as well as persons seek to qualify for some of these government projects. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day.
You're welcome.
Same to you, Miss
Same
Campbell.
to
You're
you.
welcome. Take care.